A 9-year-long battle for a national crime-fighting DNA database was almost scuppered in Parliament today. Insufficient numbers of MPs pitched up to vote this afternoon on a law that could revolutionize the way police fight crime. 201 votes were needed to pass the Criminal Law Forensic Procedures Amendment Bill, but less than half of parliamentarians bothered to show up. But after a mad scramble to call MPs to the House, the bill was finally passed.
It's the day Vanessa Lynch has been waiting for, the National Assembly passing a bill she's dedicated 9 years to. But despite widespread support from all political parties, not enough MPs showed up to pass it.
Again, we are not getting the quorum we require.
After waiting for almost an hour, MPs were called back to vote. Lynch is relieved. Her father was murdered in his own home by a gang of robbers. Little evidence was gathered as the crime scene was completely contaminated by paramedics, the police and family. To this day, the crime remains unsolved.
I couldn't just let it go. I couldn't go back to my life as it was because everything had changed, everything. So I thought to myself, well, let's look at the bigger picture here. Can we stop this from happening again?
After months of research, it was clear to Lynch that South Africa needed a DNA database, where police would collect DNA from anyone arrested for crimes like robbery, assault and murder. And possible matches could then be made with the DNA collected from scenes of cold cases.
We therefore hope that with the introduction of this bill and its operation, we are going to be able to solve a lot of cases which remain unsolved, because this is the most scientific way of dealing with crime.
Once the bill is signed into law comes the next big challenge, its implementation. Thousands of police officers and forensic specialists will have to be trained to ensure that the system is well managed and effective, or else the fight for this legislation will have been in vain. Paula Charles, Parliament.
MPs will vote on a bill today that will pave the way for the creation of a DNA database. The Criminal Law Amendment Bill will enable the police to use the database to identify criminals. It also forces police to take the DNA of suspects in serious crimes such as rape, murder and house robbery. One woman who has been driving this process is Vanessa Lynch. She's the founder of the DNA Project. Vanessa, a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
You must be very pleased this day has come.
Absolutely. I think it's been a long time coming, but it's fantastic that it's here and we can move forward and start the implementation process.
How much support does this have in the National Assembly?
It's going to be interesting to see, but I do believe it has the majority support, definitely.
Why do we need one?
We currently don't have any methodology to make it compulsory for convicted offenders and arrestees of serious violent crimes to be profiled and have their DNA put into a database. With the amount of DNA evidence, biological evidence being left at a crime scene, it just doesn't make sense not to be able to compare those crime scene samples to a database where we have serial offenders continuously being arrested and put into prison. And it's just a way of identifying our serial offenders at a much earlier stage of their criminal career.
Some politicians have been moaning or worrying about the implementation of a DNA database. What's your view on that?
I think that the implementation is already taking place insofar as we have two fantastic forensic science laboratories that are doing DNA processing. There is obviously going to be a cost in terms of the capacity that is going to be required to profile all of the convicted offenders and arrestees. But given that we have such a huge problem with crime and that this is a technologically advanced methodology to help resolve crime, I think that it does require support. And yes, it is going to cost some money, but I do think it is going to be worth it in the end.
We can't really afford to be without a DNA database, can we?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think that given the nature of crimes, the fact that we have young women and children being raped who don't necessarily have a voice in terms of being able to give evidence. I think that this kind of objective and valuable evidence that can be utilized in conjunction with a criminal intelligence database is absolutely crucial. It's tangible, it works throughout the world, and we need to be utilizing it to its best advantage in this country. And we can't do it unless we have the legislation, which now that we have it, I think that we really will start seeing results.
This has been a real personal mission for you, hasn't it?
It has been. It started off as a personal mission through the murder of my own father. And I think there are so many people in South Africa who are victims of crime or who have been affected by crime. And I do think that we need to start identifying these serial offenders and getting them out of the system at a much earlier stage. And by doing so, we can save future lives. And I think we've already lost time and lives have been lost as a result of this not being in place. So we need to ensure that it is done as quickly as possible.
Vanessa Lynch, the DNA Project, thank you very much indeed for coming in this afternoon.
Thank you.